Just record. So I'm going to repeat the instructions. I'm going to put all of you in breakout rooms. There are about 5 rooms. Each room has got 4 people. You will enter the room. I'm going to give you 15 minutes. In each room, all of you will discuss the 3 competencies that I called out. Competency 3, competency 7, and competency 8. The way that you have understood what needs to take place in a coaching conversation as far as these competencies are concerned. Have a discussion. When you come back, I want one spokesperson to list out things from each breakout room saying that, hey, this is what we understood from our breakout room, saying that this needs to happen. Okay, let me read the names. Room number 1, Vijay Lakshmi, Kunal Gupta, Nupur Madan, Shamik Hussain. Room number 2, Archana Chatre, Deepa Mahesh, Dr. Simi Roy Mishra, Naina Ramnani. Room number 3, Abhishek, Jayalakshmi, Sarvajot, Shada. Room number 4, Ajit Bedkar, Alpesh Shah, Manmit Narang, Shivani. Room number 5, Krishna, Nirali Pandit, Shipad Sonteke, Simi Gulat. Okay, perfect. So 15 minutes with 30 seconds of wrap-up time. And I will just keep floating. Somebody else join. I'll assign that person to some room. Okay, perfect.
That went
Time
very
just
fast.
flew away, isn't it? The time just flies off.
I know. We were just 1 3/4 competencies through.
Okay, so we had 5 breakout rooms. I hope you have got your spokesperson from the room. Let's not maintain silence. Very quickly jump into who is...
Simi from our room will start, coach. Simi from our room will start.
Yeah, I'll just give like 2 minutes, Simi, just very quickly, essence of what you all discussed. Yeah.
What we discuss is the competency 3 is basically we agree with overall engagement, what they want to achieve, and in the session, and we go on the measures of success. How will they know they've achieved it? And asking open-ended questions with what makes it important for them. So that's the essence of 3. And within 7, whatever we have observed in their language, sharing the observations and asking them questions to go below the surface to scratch, challenging their beliefs and whatever is, coming out there and picking up any emotions that we may have picked up. And in the last one is asking them to summarize what they have got from the session, any insights, actions that they would like to commit to, and if anything that they see coming on the way for them, support system for that. That's an introduction.
Okay, thank you, Simi.
Shraddha from our group, room number 3.
On the coaching competency 3, we discussed, I think we spent most of our time on this competency. And it was establishing and maintaining agreement. So, of course, agreement on the overall coaching goal, and if it involves stakeholders, then we have to also take that into consideration, and the measures of success, and certain peripheral things like duration and the mode of interaction. So those were the things on the agreement part. Evokes awareness, I think we didn't discuss much, but we really came up with good observations, is that it needs to be deep and not superficial. And also that we need to keep the coachee focused on their overall goal. We have to take up the verbal as well as non-verbal cues and emotions. And we need to challenge the established notions of the coachee. So that was on evokes awareness. And the last facilitates client growth. The very one thing that came up, that we need not be carrying their monkey on our shoulders. So we have to leave the coachee with their own monkey to be handled by them. It means to integrate the action, integrate the insight into action, or translate insight into action has to be done by the coachee. And we have to ask them, how will you keep yourself accountable? So accountability thing came up. So how we would like to sum it up.
Right, thanks.
Shivani from
Shraddha.
room number 4.
Yeah, sure. So I think we spent again most of the time on 3, and we also realized that 3 is the most important aspect of a coaching conversation, because unless we establish what the goal is or what we're trying to achieve in a particular session, it will remain a conversation and not really a very productive coaching conversation. With respect to 3, we also discussed how there is some elements of the competency that happens before a coaching session in a chemistry call, where we establish with respect to what is coaching, what it is not, and all of that. And in the session, it's mostly focused on agreement, what the course that we choose to stick with. It's very client-centered is again something that came up. It's about partnership, and this is the space where the client realizes that they're in the driving seat and they are going to be driving this conversation forward, because before this, they come in with an expectation that the coach will give me maybe answers, but here is where we really focus on them. With competency 7, we discussed how this is the real playground for coaches to use the different tools and approaches, because 3 and 8 do have some amount of structure to them, but 7 has a lot of space to play around. But given that there's a lot of space, there's also a lot of opportunity for clients to go all over the place. So as a coach, it is our responsibility to stay on the course, use all of the tools that we have, pauses, reflections, silences, challenging the clients, and all of the other, things. And this is also the space where we realize most of the aha moments would happen. Now, for a coach, we also discussed another element with respect to 7. For a coach, the coach needs to observe, notice what's working, and adapt to the client's needs and what's working for the client, and not try to push their own agenda. So I think that's something that another thing we discussed. Quickly, 8, we spent the least amount of time on this, but I think one thing that we established was 8 is where we convert learnings to action. And this is the most important aspect to end a conversation, because the aha moments will remain aha moments if we don't convert them to action. So this is a space where we facilitate that process as to how they will convert all their thinking and reflections and learnings and insights into actionable thing into their lives. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'll go for group number 2. So again, we spend most of the time on competency 3 as well. And we established that it's equally important to define the outcome of the coaching agreement as a whole, as it is to establish the agreement for a particular session as well. Especially when it comes to the sponsor level, you have to define those goals that they want you to achieve in the whole coaching process, and you have to define in each particular session what the individual would like to focus on. There's the contracting part of it as well, which is, when you set out all the rules, what is allowed, what is not allowed, fees, And what we mentioned as well that a few of us include is frequency of communication beyond the coaching sessions. And Simi mentioned that she also includes what tool she's going to be using throughout her coaching, and whether these are, whether she has permission to use these or not by the coachee. When it comes to measures of success, we said it was very, very important for the coaches to establish what it is that they want to take away in each session. It's what gives the session direction, and for us as well to sort of, bring the coachee back in case, they divert into another direction. Evoking awareness, this we were very passionate about this competency. We were all talking about it. I think it's our favorite. This is basically the why they are bringing whatever they're bringing to the table in that particular session. A lot of open-ended questions, establish why it is important for them to bring whatever they're bringing on, and at the same time challenge whatever perspective has been established. So basically try and find out what is missing there. And Deepa mentioned that she uses silence and metaphors a lot, and she finds them very, very powerful to be able to resurface ideas and feelings that haven't otherwise resurfaced. She did also mention that when it comes to corporate clients, it's a bit different than when it comes to individual clients. Corporates tend to not go a lot below the surface. And the last competency, number 8, we didn't get a lot of time to explore it, but it's basically the how to translate all of this awareness and all of this learning into actions. So how does a client want to move forward? What resources do they have? What potential challenges can they face? And how can they be held accountable for all the progress they're making? And yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So I think we're left with group 1. And that's where I will go for my group. So for the competency 3, we open the doors for the client. We kind of see what are they coming in for, both for the overall journey and for the individual. This is also a place where we build the trust and we build the rapport. So I think a good word that Kunal had said, it's more of a psychological contracting also, not only about the objectives. Then what makes this important for them? And how will they get to know at the end of the session, rather than what exactly is the measure? Sometimes the flow might change, but what came into our conversation is it is important for them to understand how will they get to know that we have achieved what we are looking for. Another important thing that came was, again, individual and the corporate clients are different. And if it is a corporate client, then a lot of stakeholder agreements needs to be there. In terms of all being on the same page, what is to be communicated, what is not to be communicated, what are the timelines to be communicated, and more so for the coachee, not coming from the perspective, oh, you are being tested or you are the target. It is coming more from the perspective of, okay, this is just a space for you to explore for yourself, and it is a safe and confidential space, and you can completely be comfortable talking about what you want to. The only intervention that some sponsors are coming into is to help you with whatever you are. Yeah, so these were the major things that came for 3. For competency 7, again, evoking awareness. One thing very clearly that came, it's all about the client. It's all about the coachee. So keep yourself completely out of the picture. You are there to give presence. You're there to completely listen, help them explore whatever they're saying, help them reflect on what they're saying, and in case if there is some underlying things more coming onto it, being curious, the most important thing, all through the time, but curiosity which helps and supports the client, not your curiosity that probably you would like to know something and you get curious, oh, I want to know the story more. Using different tools, staying completely present. And yeah, so this is what came for competency 7. We did not even start at competency 8, so I will leave that. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, thanks for sharing. I have one question. I want you to put the answers in the chat box. If all of you are here, in the session, you are here because somewhere you are finding it difficulty, or you're finding it challenging to take a client from the stage of awareness to the action stage. And I just want you to put down the reasons you're finding it difficult. Just go ahead and do that.
So you want us to do that, like type it in the chat box, or
just put it in the
speak?
chat box.
Okay.
Just put it in the chat box so I can very quickly go through. Otherwise, there'll be a lot of time that we'll end up consuming. To enable the client to take action without leading them. The client doesn't come back after the first 1 or 2 sessions. Okay. Okay, client is not very sure of the actions. Awareness is there, but actions are too many. Okay. My difficulty is at agreement, 3 competency, less of 8. The other thing is client does not take action. Okay.
साइलेंट कराते रहो बार बार रोहित करना पड़ता है मैंने
The agreement is vague and weak. Okay, they are consumed by the story that lose sight of action. Okay, right. Okay. Perfect. Okay, they are consumed by the story that lose action. Client knows what to do and talk about doing it, but not actually do it. Okay. Procrastination, they have a lot to say in awareness, but quiet when it comes to action. Perfect. All right. Say that. Okay. I get confused with where to pause with the awareness, right point. That's a good one. Client is focused on past and their experiences and do not see how they need to change. Too many times aware, but okay. Okay, so let's, when client doesn't come back and I don't know why, agreement competency. Where can I don't know why agreement competency ability to put clarity on agreement. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to basics. Yeah. So different training schools would have taught different frameworks and models and all of that. And I'm going to take you to some basics and just help you understand how a coaching conversation happens in a, I'm not talking about the engagement level, I'm just talking at a session level, yeah? And I'm going to give you a simple coaching process. Some of you may know it, some of you who got trained by me, some of you who have attended the core competency masterclass would know. Others may not know, but you may also know because somewhere in your training, they may have taught this to you. So let me just bring this on the screen. I'll just show it to you. In a particular, can you see the whiteboard? It's loading or is it loaded? It's loaded. Can you see it? Okay.
Yeah, you can see.
Okay, perfect. So I have a very simple process. I got to know about this process. I don't know from where. I'm still trying to figure out where I saw that process. I have taken this process and then I've gone deep and I'm going to explain to you how this process works. Yeah. Okay. So your entire coaching process has got just 3 stages. I'll just explain this to you. Right? At a very basic level, this is a very basic level of a coaching process. Okay, at a very basic level. First, you establish the agreement for the session. Okay. Once the agreement is established very tightly, then you move to awareness. Okay. When the client has a new awareness, you take the client to this stage of actions. Okay. I put action and in bracket I put S. So what is the agreement? The agreement is, you need to understand the agreement thoroughly so that you establish a very tight agreement. Let me just show this how it's done, right? The client comes to you. This is where your client is. The client says, the client is coming here. The client says, I'm here. Okay. Right? This is where the client is in the beginning of the session. You very clearly have to ask the client, by end of this session, where do you want to be? Okay. What is your end state by end of the session? Okay. This is very important, right? End state meaning you have to be very, very clear about the time which is available with you. If you agree to coach the client for 30 minutes, you have to very categorically ask the client, in the next 30 minutes, we are together, what is that you want to achieve? Okay, that is the end state, the goal for the session. What is that you want to achieve? What is that you want to accomplish? What is that you want to take away? Let it be anything, right? So first thing is you need to know how to manage time. Very important, right? Manage time. Go back to the core competencies. There will be a place where you say you have to manage time. Okay, very important. Now the client will say, by end of this conversation, I want to achieve this, right? So the client is here. The client wants to go here. So what is the question that you're going to ask? You're going to ask, what is that you want to achieve? Want to achieve, accomplish, take away by end of the session. You have to be very categorically asking this question. End of the session, right? Otherwise, they will think that you are asking a question related to the overall coaching agreement. Okay? End of the session. Now, the next question that you're going to ask is, okay, this is what you want to achieve. You have to ask the client, by end of this session, how do you know you have got what you wanted? How do you know that you achieved what you wanted to achieve? Or you have to ask this question, in the coaching session, how do you know that you are making progress towards what is that you want to achieve? Okay. How do you know? No. You achieved, accomplished, or whatever, or making progress. These are very important two questions. Okay. If you do these two, you have established the agreement fairly well at a doing level. At a doing level. And I'll talk about the doing level in a little while, right? So what is the doing level? Doing level is this. Right. So this is the human iceberg. Okay. This is what is visible. Visible. This is invisible. Right? This is what you will see of a human being. The actions and the behaviors. Behaviors that they demonstrate, actions that they take is producing the outcomes, results, and are making them achieve their goals. Okay, right. Now, these two questions that you're asking, by end of the session, what is that you want to achieve? How do you know that achieved is at a visible level, right? And this I call the doing of the human being, the doing. Okay. Now, this is at the doing level, or this is at a very head level, right? By end of the session, this is what I want to achieve. And this is how I know that I have achieved. This is at the head level. Now, if you want to have a real tight agreement for the session, you have to take that from a doing level to the being level, or I call it from the head to the heart. Asking this question, meaning, I'll tell you what it is. Okay, what is below the iceberg? The actions and behaviors that we are taking in our day-to-day life, all of us, are basically driven by some of the thoughts that we have, some of the feelings that we go through, some of the beliefs that we hold for ourselves, some of the values that we live our day-to-day life based on values, some of the mindset that we have, a motivation that we have to do certain things, and some experiences that we, okay, what's the talents that we have, the strengths that we have, all of that is not visible to another human being unless they are demonstrated outside, okay? Now, your session goal of doing, you ask these two questions, you have to take it deep to the being level and ask this question, okay? Now, if you achieve what you want to achieve, what will that give you? Basically, what you're asking is, why do you want to do what you want to do? What is your why? What is your why? Okay. How will your life change? Your life change. If you achieve this particular goal in this session. What is the overall impact this particular goal that you achieve for the session, how will it impact your overall life? Okay. This question can be asked in many, many different ways. So basically, what are we trying to find out? We are trying to find the significance of that particular goal that individual want to achieve in that session and how it is impacting their overall life. Okay. So you can say motivation, right? Motivation. Let's call it motivation. Now, the person is here, right? So person wants to go here. That's the first one here, the second one. The third one is, how do you know you got there? Fourth one is, what is the reason behind you wanting to achieve this goal? The fourth one that you need to ask is, so far, something has not allowed you to take action towards moving from here to here. Okay. What could be those reasons which has not made you to go here from here to here? That is one way of asking. Basically, what you're doing is you're just going below the waterline and asking this question. What beliefs are holding you back? Maybe what is the mindset which is holding me back or whatever. The other way to ask that question is, what strengths or talents or beliefs that you have within you can help us to move you from this state to this state. Okay. When you do that, from a doing level, you moved the session goal to the being level. You made it tight. Once you make it tight, it is easy to navigate through the conversation. Okay. And if you're not done an agreement very tight, it's very difficult to take the client to an awareness level. Okay. The reason is you establish a session goal at the doing level. It's very difficult to take the person below the waterline and ask questions around their thoughts, or their feelings, their beliefs and values and all of that. Then what will happen is you cannot help them raise their level of awareness. You will start leading questions because the client said, hey, I'm here and I want to go here. So basically you are forcing yourself to drive results for the client, and it becomes your agenda and not their agenda. Okay. Your role as a coach is to help the client raise their level of awareness. Today, whatever that you're doing it because with the current level of awareness that you have. The moment, see, this is your level of awareness and these are the actions that you're taking. These actions is producing these results for you. If you want results at this level, your actions have to get raised. If your actions have to get raised, your awareness has to get raised. Then only you will be able to do this. But in a coaching conversation, if you don't do the agreement properly, you will take the pressure on yourself to perform, and then you will start giving advice, you will give suggestion, you will ask questions, having an action in your head by asking leading questions, close-ended questions, all of that will happen because you're not done the agreement properly. Okay, right. So far, so good. If you have any questions to ask and clarify this, please clarify and I'll go to the next stage. Agreement is done, now I'll go to the awareness.
This is great.
I have a question, Shri.
Sure, go
So
ahead.
asking, asking the question of what has not allowed you to actually get to be, also needs some amount of awareness. A lot of times I don't know, that's why I'm here, or you tell me. So how do we, use some amount of questions, or what do we do in that scenario?
So the way that I address that is, okay, so far, Ajit, you raised your hand. Do you want to respond to that question, or you have another question?
No. After this. Next question.
Instead of asking that question, what is not allowing you to, you can always do a appreciative inquiry, saying that, hey, so far in your life, you have reached this level, okay, and you must have done something special with the strengths that you have. What strengths that you have today can be leveraged so that you can move from this current state to the future state? Right? So that's the reason in my coaching content, most of the time, I don't ask questions like what is limiting you, what is blocking you, stuff like that. Right? So I'll always ask questions which will move them from, see, so basically what's happening is the client is here. When you ask what is not allowing you, you are actually pulling that client back. Instead of that, you have to ask questions, what will enable you to move from the current state to the future state, the end state? Change your frame of questions. Then they will go inside and look at, hey, let me look at what strengths that I used, what talent that I used will help me to move from the current state to the future state. Okay.
I have one follow-up. Can I ask?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a client I'm currently working with, and whenever I ask her such a positive question to, look within her talents and strengths, there's a lot of things like, no, I'm not good for anything. There's nothing. I don't know what happened. So if I pose this question to her that way, I usually don't get any response. So mostly self-defeating answers like, I'm good for nothing, or I don't have any of these things. So I have to I usually give her examples from what she has done in the session and I bring it up. I want her to bring it up. So how do I enable that awareness in a group?
So if you feel that the client is making progress, appreciate the client, acknowledge and saying, hey, I hear you say this, and appreciate. So sometimes the clients may have a very high standards for them, and that is the reason they just keep putting themselves down. You call that out. You call that out and acknowledge and appreciate.
Okay.
Yeah, Ajit, go ahead and ask them.
Yeah. So the question I had was that as this happens, what you mentioned about the iceberg and the doing and the being, what I see here, and I've experienced that in some of the coaching sessions, is that we end up going back and forth in the agreement itself because the client is not really clear as to what is the expectation, because a lot of times the client is still in the mode that coach has to provide me a solution, my problem has to get fixed or resolved. And in my experience, I've some of these sessions I've had that 1 hour has just gone in even coming to an agreement that while this is clear for the client that okay, difference between mentoring, coaching, therapy, etc., all that is clear, but still is not able to come out of the mindset that you have to give me a solution, right? And therefore the awareness will come a little later. Even if the awareness is there that I want to do this, what do I expect from this session? As a client, the client is very clear, but the expectation is still that somehow the coach has to give a solution to me. How do I overcome that?
Right. So that is something that you need to agree upfront, saying that you are not going to give, and just stick to it. I'm not going to give you solutions. You can try whatever you want. Eventually, after 2-3 sessions, they will fall in line with you because they know that you are not going to give solutions. What I want to say is that don't take the pressure on you. Trust the process, right? Trust the process. Eventually, they will fall in place. And agreement, this is very important, right? When you ask this question, what is that you want to achieve? They will say something. When you ask this question, how would you know that you have achieved by end of the session? They will suddenly change their session goal. It's okay. It'll happen 3-4 times. It may change, which is perfectly fine. The reason it'll happen is that you first do this at a doing level, and then you come to the being level. They realize, oh no, this is not the goal. I'm going to change. So there is a lot of circling happening here.
Yeah, back and forth happens there. Yeah.
Let it happen. In a coaching conversation, I agree with you. In a 1-hour coaching conversation, I have a thumb rule. 1/3 of the time, focus on establishing the agreement. If that is not enough, half the time, if that is not enough, 2/3. There are 1-hour conversations that I had. I've taken 40 minutes to establish the agreement. Okay. And I'll tell you what it does in a little while. I'll just come to it. If you are able to spend that 40 minutes to establish a tight agreement, what will happen? I'll tell you. Okay. Yes, Saroj.
Thank you.
So my question was similar to the one that was just asked. So, is it fair as a coach to say that sometimes if I'm moving back and forth between the agreement and the client story and what they want out of it, is it fair as a coach to bring it to the table and say that probably we are probably let's take a break and come back and talk about it all over again, or because there is also the risk of the client not returning back. So what best to do? I mean, tell them to take a 5-minute breather within the session and then come back with new thoughts, or ask them to join in for a new conversation altogether.
Yeah, if I may just interject, thank you, Sarojit, for bringing that point out. I have faced this, right, 1 or 2 times sessions. The client, even after explaining everything, going through again and again, the client still sticks. No, I mean, and I've lost sort of a pro bono coaching session because of that, where it wasn't a paid client, but still, the client was very clear, saying, okay, if you stick to this, that you as a coach are not going to give me a solution, I don't want to waste my time, and let's end this session. And I lost the session.
Which is perfectly fine. If you want to be true to the coaching profession, what you did is right. Right? What you did is right.
Sorry, Sarojit.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sarojit.
No, that's it. That was my thought, which I just brought up.
Yeah. So I have called this out. I say, hey, we've been in this conversation for a while, and I'm getting the sense that we are just circling, going in loops and loops. What are you sensing? If they say, I'm also sensing the same, you ask them, what is that you would like to do in the remaining time that we have with us? Always put the ball in their court. Don't take the monkey on you, right? And when you do that, actually, you are allowing them to the client autonomy. No, I always say that in a coaching conversation, it is like, I don't know how many of you have heard of this. I'm just going to use it here. It's like a person who is taking the dog for a walk. The person is thinking that person is taking the dog for a walk. Actually, the dog is taking the person for a walk. In a coaching relationship, it's a metaphor, right? The dog is the client, right? The person is the coach. That leash that the person is holding is the coaching process. So when you realize that the dog is going to places which the dog is not supposed to go, then you pull back. You use the coaching process to pull back, right? So always remember, your role as a coach is to just hold the leash and just keep allowing the dog to lead you. Autonomy for the client, okay? Always ask them and take the pressure off you saying that I have to take the client to action, I have to perform. The moment you put the pressure, it has become your agenda. The moment that coaching session becomes your agenda, you lost it. You lost it. Right? Sometimes the client will say, I don't know. Today I had an explosion call. First time the person is coming. The person said, I don't know. I hope you will give me the answer. I said, I also don't know. It is your life. How can I give the answers? So she said, what do we do? I asked her, what do you think we should do? So back and forth, we went through the conversation. Finally, We went through the process. Shivani, you remember we had a conversation. You said, I don't know. You said, I don't know. I also said, I also don't know. Shivani, what shall we do? Right? Yeah. So take the pressure off you. Things will fall in. Trust the process. Okay. Manmeet, you raise your hand.
I just want to tell everyone that conversation between Srikanth and Shivani was absolutely brilliant. For good 30 minutes, they just kept nailing down the agreement. And I think it was still a fruitful conversation for Shivani because she actually found out that she didn't know what she wanted. That was the clarity. That was her gain. So coming back to my question, Srikanth, of course, what Ajit and Sarvjot asked, I also struggle there. I also struggle when the goal is too large. I don't want to seek validation. It's so large, I don't know how to zero it down. And then the person keeps on coming with stories, problems here and there. And what you exactly want to focus on, the agenda gets lost.
If you feel that the client is telling stories, call it out. Call it out. It's okay. Challenge the client. Hey, I'm hearing you going around in circles. And I'm getting the sense that you don't have clarity on what you want to achieve. What do you want to do? Yeah. Yeah. So first 1 or 2 sessions, this will happen till they get tuned to the coaching process. See, come on, please understand, when you started training for a coach, you also didn't know what the coaching process is. You got used to it. They will also get used to it, but you need to trust that if you stay true to the process, they will get tuned to the process, but you don't have the patience. That's the reason you take pressure on you. Okay. So I'm just going to move to the next one. So how do we now, once you establish...
My question, how to break a larger goal, I don't think I really got the answer to that. If you could explain that a bit.
So they may have a larger goal, right? Ask them, now, this is, the way that I understand it, this is the larger goal that you want to achieve. Towards this larger goal, in the limited time that we have, just bring that managing the time. In the limited time that we have for today, what would you like to achieve so that you are moving towards the larger goal? Right? There's a larger goal that you have, like I want to build a villa, which is my larger goal. Towards that larger goal, today's conversation, what is that you want to achieve? It could be, I want to build a villa, that's my larger goal. In today's conversation, I want to know how I can find or conclude on an architect. Right? Just bring them back to the time that you have, in the limited time that we have. What is that you would like to see happening towards achieving the larger goal that you have set for yourself? Okay? All right. Agreement is over. Now we are going to explore, right? Exploration, awareness can happen only below the waterline. There is no exploration happening above the waterline because only actions and behavior is doing, right? Exploration has to happen at the being level. You ask questions related to their thinking, their feeling, their beliefs, values, mindset, motivation, all of that, experiences. When you ask about experiences, avoid asking for explanations. Ask for exploration. Meaning, sometimes the client will say, whatever, okay. If you ask a question, when was the last time that you faced a situation like that? You are gone into a black hole. They will take you to stories, okay. You are asking for explanation. If you ask a question, when you were in a similar situation before, what helped you to get out of it? Then they will talk about things got them out of that situation. They'll talk about their strengths or beliefs or whatever. Then you can ask the question, okay, if you have to leverage those attributes in the current situation that you are going through, what is possible? Okay, you can ask questions on the past for exploration, not for explanation. When you make statements like tell me more, you got into the story. Tell me more is not a question. You are asking for stories. And always ask open-ended question. There's a big difference between in the establishing agreement. If you ask this question, how is this goal important for you? The obvious answer is going to be very important. It's a very redundant question. You have to ask a different question. What is making this goal important for you? Or if you achieve this goal, how will your life change? In the overall scheme of things, how will it get impact? Very carefully, you need to frame those questions. Okay. All right. Now let's say the client has, how do you know the client has got a new awareness?
There is sometimes a shift in the energy, like they kind of becoming more excited or
More excited.
the opposite. Yeah.
All right. So Abhishek can raise his hand. Let me, yeah, Abhishek, you want to say something or ask something?
So, sir, I wanted to ask, I mean, I had a similar situation when I had asked Kochi that what did you do in the past when you were in a similar situation? The person
Story.
did not.
Story. What did you do in the past?
I mean,
what helped you?
Okay.
Frame the question very carefully. What helped you? What within you helped you to get out of that situation? Then they are going below the waterline. What did you do will stay above the waterline. They are talking about actions. You have to go below the waterline and ask a question.
Okay. All right. Because the person replied that I did not face similar situation in the past, so I have no idea what to say.
All right. Okay. Jaya, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm responding to your question, Srikanth. How will we know that they have awareness? I think asking the questions, what have you learned so far?
Brilliant.
Is a
Brilliant. Ask them. Hey, we have been in the conversation for a while. Okay. You can ask questions like how has this conversation helped you? The person will say how the conversation has helped. They may say, I realized, I got to know. Look for these words. I realized, I got to know, meaning their awareness has gone up. I had this new insight. I got this awareness. Sometimes they will say, it has not helped me at all. Just chill, relax, take a deep breath and ask this question. In the remaining time that we have, what would you like to see happening so that this conversation is going to be meaningful for you? Let them say. Let them say. And allow them to lead. Remember the dog walk. Allow them to lead. Okay. So Shivani, if you felt there's a shift in the energy, please call it out.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, I'm sensing that there's been a shift in the way that you're speaking, your voice, tone of voice, blah, blah, blah. What happened? Then they will say this happened, right? So the moment they use words like, I realized, I got to know that I didn't know before, I had a awareness, I had an insight, that is the time you immediately need to ask this question with this new level of awareness, with this new insight, with this new knowing, what is that you would like to do? What did you do? From below the water level, from the being, your awareness is happening at this level, you just move up. So the awareness happened, right? So from the being, as a new knowing which happened, this is your awareness. And then you move them to actions. Always keep a tab on the time. If you have more, if you feel that there's more time, you can also play with a little bit on the awareness. You can take from that awareness, you can see whether you can want to take the person a little deeper. But if you don't have the time, the moment an awareness has come, move them into action. Because a lot of awareness is not going to help them. Because please understand, a shift in the being will happen when the being shifts and there's a new knowing and then the doing happens. It's like this. What is the awareness? Awareness means you got new information, right? Awareness is new information. The information has to get implementation, and then only you will see the impact. Otherwise, the information will remain information. Your awareness will remain awareness. So you have to move the person from information to implementation. So see impact. Remember this. So how do you do that? Okay, with this new level of awareness, you ask this question, what is that you would like to do? Or you can ask this question, with this new level of awareness, how will your life change from here onwards? Right? With this new level of awareness, what actions would you like to take? They may say some 10,000 actions. Don't get caught in the 10,000 actions, right? Look at the time that is available with you, right? Okay, you talked about so many things that you're going to do. If you have to prioritize and just focus on one action in today's session, what would be that action? Get them to spell it out. Once they have agreed on the action, you do this, okay? Okay, you said you're going to take this action. When are you going to start? Okay, when are you going to start? Second one is, for this to happen, what resources would you need? So resources are basically what? Your resources are your internal resources, which are your strengths, whatever that you have internally within you, internal resources, and external resources will be your support and so on and so forth, right? So it could be okay. You said that you are going to take this action. When are you going to start? What strengths would you leverage, the internal, and what support system would you need? Okay. And third one is, how are you going to measure progress? How do you know that you are making progress? Okay. Right. And you can also ask this question. How will you make sure that you are going to stay on track? This means that what will make sure that you will not go back to your old ways of doing things? And the next one is, how would you hold yourself accountable for whatever you said that you're going to do? Okay, just remember these 5 things, you're sorted. Okay, I got 15 minutes. I'll just recap, just summarize this. Yeah, just give it time. If you can just use this, you pretty much would have nailed the actions. Okay. And then if you want to acknowledge the client for the progress that the client has made, acknowledge that. That is the celebration bit, which ICF competency talks about in the facilitating growth competency. Asking a question like, how would you like to celebrate, is not the way to celebrate. You have to acknowledge the client's progress in the session. That is celebration. And when you close the conversation, I have noticed a lot of coaches asking them, are we good to close? Close-ended question, don't ask that. Get the client to summarize and close the conversation. The way to do that is that, see the time, keep the time in mind. So we are almost towards the end of the time. In the last 1 or 2 minutes that we have, how would you like to summarize the entire conversation for yourself and close this conversation? I have noticed clients are, coaches are, everything is done. Is there anything else that you want to discuss? Don't ask questions like that. Are it's over, yeah, done, close. Then if you ask a question like that, you will open a Pandora box and then you will go in circles. If a client says, hey, I want to also discuss, tell them, hey, let's schedule time and we will bring this topic for the next conversation. The reason is we agreed in the beginning of the conversation, this is the time that we are going to spend. Okay. Okay. What questions do you have so far in, okay, yeah, and here is a, you notice this, what I have done. Notice this, remember this. What have I done here? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, SMART goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just used the same acronym for something else. Okay. And you can use the same thing which is here for your agreement stage as well. Session goal, what is that you want to specifically achieve? Okay. How are we going to measure progress? And what is that we need to address to move from here to here? And what is the relevance of you achieving this goal, which is significance, how will life change for you, and so on and so forth. And this is your time. Time. Got it? Okay. From one end to another end, just use the SMART acronym and you're done. You will establish a very tight agreement. You will close with very tight actions. Okay. Now I'm coming to this. Did you see this? This. Okay. Now, I said this is the basic level of doing, right? What is the next level? This is the advanced level of establishing agreement. I'll tell you what happens. So your agreement is happening, right? While the agreement is happening, if you've done enough exploration, awareness will also happen. The agreement and the awareness will overlap. And you will see while the awareness is happening, the client has already started talking about actions. You don't have to do anything. The client will say, I realized this, which I have not done before. Now this new level of realization, I think I am going to do this. Okay. This is the basic level of agreement. This is the advanced level of agreement. Meaning you are taking a lot of time. Before asking this question, what is that you want to take away from this session? You ask this question, what would you like to explore in this session? Do a lot of exploration and then get to the agreement. So exploration can happen for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and then you do your agreement. Take another 5 minutes to do the agreement. Yeah, there is no order in which you need to do this. The client brings a topic, first question that you can ask is that, hey, if you're able to achieve this, how will your life change? And then you can ask the question, how would you know by end of the session you did it? Yeah, there is no order. But the question, first question you need to ask, what is that you want to achieve? That question you need to ask. And then the other questions, you can ask them in any order. Okay. Now, these are the advanced level, right? What is the mastery level? This has happened to me a couple of times. The mastery level is actually the agreement, the awareness, the actions, everything has taken place in one whole thing. It happened at a very esoteric level. Somebody watching it for the first time, they don't know that there's an agreement which took place. The client had a new awareness. They agree on actions. You may have to watch that recording a couple of times to really understand, oh my God, all of this happened in this context. But this will take a long time. First, do this. When you're able to do this, go here. This is going to take a hell of a lot of time. And this will not happen in all the conversations. The coach has to believe in the process completely. The client should be a client who is very, very self-aware, who's willing to do that deep work. When that client is ready, this will happen. Right? You actually can't differentiate what the hell is going on, but it will happen. Okay. So we are left with 10 minutes. Shamik, you put your hand up.
Yeah, Shri, I mean, this basic advance in mastery, I was going to ask, and you mentioned that, well, yes, I guess it requires a lot of skill from the coach. But you mentioned that the client also, the coachee also has to be very self-aware for that to happen.
Absolutely.
So the onus is not completely on the coach's competency alone.
It's a partnership.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a partnership. Yeah. That's why I'm telling, don't take the pressure on you, trust the process. Yeah.
Right. Thanks.
I remember during my training session or some of the batches that I went through, we used to joke about that I've become a master coachee because so much of practice we do, right? And so much pro bono coaching, peer level coachings that we do. And that is something that a challenge I see many times when going through, practice coaching sessions that we do with our peers to achieve our hours, that we, as a client, I'm also thinking, I'm also a coach, right? But I don't wear, and I somewhere wear the hat of the coach and get into a session as a client and not be so authentic therefore. So I sometimes challenge myself to be a realistic client than being a coach wearing a hat of a client.
So when you're a coach and when you're working with a coach, drop this hat of a coach in that seat. See, when you sit in that seat with that coaching, I'm also a coach, you will start judging your coach.
Yeah, that happens.
Oh, he's asking close-ended questions, she's taking notes. How does it matter?
Yeah. And it happens because many of the practice or peer coachings that we do, it's like you coach me, I coach you, and then after that, we both give feedback to each other, right?
Right.
And from that point of view, we end up making notes or, trying to make a note of what went wrong, what went right, etc. And then that's where the session messes up. So now I've realized that I've consciously avoid getting into a back to back you coach me, I coach you sessions. It's like either you coach me or you coach or I coach you. That's all. We'll schedule another session sometime. That's what I'm trying to do now.
Alpesh, I shared the link. I don't know if this link will work or not. I shared it. The whiteboard link that you wanted, I shared the link.
Thank you.
Shivani, you raised your hand. Shivani and one more person. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is sometimes, my clients come to a point where they're like, I have this awareness and I now like to sit with it. So in that scenario, should we proceed to action or should we close the session?
Yeah, perfect. When you say you want to sit with it, what would you like to do? Nail them. When you said you will sit with it, what does that mean? while you're sitting, what would you like to see happening? See, awareness is a good thing, right? The awareness doesn't get translated to actions, then there is no impact.
True.
So then what will happen is that the person is only doing, being. Being doesn't get shifted if there is no doing happening. The shift in the being happens when the doing also happens. Remember the information, implementation, impact.
True, true. So this is actually from a real scenario where I was working with a coach, and later he gave me feedback that I should have left the session at that point. Insisted on converting this into action. He would have
It's
liked to
okay.
close the
You can still ask the question, okay? So you said that you want to sit with it. Okay, if you have the time, we have some time. What is that you would like to do with the time?
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But also clarifying what does it mean that I want to sit with this or think about it is really helpful.
See, sit with also is an excuse saying that chalo yaar, chodo, I don't want to take action. Forget it. That also could be a get the meaning of I want to sit with it. What do you mean by that?
Right.
Yeah, Manvit.
So my question is an extension of what Shivani asked. So I have a client who often just says, I'm going to reflect on it. I'm going to journal. I'm going to write on it. Then what I've invariably seen is that action is also not happening. So when the client says, I'm going to reflect, is that a measurable action is now what I'm questioning.
Okay. So when you say you are going to reflect, how would you reflect? How would you know that you are reflecting? Use the SMART goal, the SMART acronym, measure. So reflect is an action, right? I'm going to reflect. How do you know that you are reflecting? How do you know that you are making progress?
I'm writing. I'm going to write every day.
What will that writing give you?
More awareness.
What will you do with that awareness?
Yeah.
Go deep, go deep. Okay. Okay, so we have 3 more minutes. What more questions do you have? Coach, can you share your UPIS session is the best summary I got of the 60 hours?
I think
Okay.
Archana will support me in this. I want her to support me in this.
Krishna is
Very
going to
true.
start the International Kochi Federation. He's got a logo and all that. Krishna.
Yeah, we remember you sharing that.
Yeah, reflecting, journaling also is an action. Absolutely right. Right. Absolutely, you're right.
I have a question. If you have.
Yeah, go ahead, Sivan. Yeah.
You spoke about celebration, right? So celebrating is not about asking. So I've always struggled with that question, and I never ask it because asking how do you want to celebrate sounds very silly in my own head, and I hate being asked that question as well. So how else does celebration really show up?
Celebration is acknowledging the client for going through the process and staying with you to conclude and take away what the person wants to take away. So, for example, you can say, hey, I really want to appreciate that you made yourself vulnerable and you are willing to go to places that were not comfortable. Yeah. And find the answers that you were looking for. That is celebration.
Right. Some people also ask, how would you like to acknowledge yourself for the work that you did in today's session? Is that also part of celebration?
I actually don't like to ask that question. Yeah, how would you like to acknowledge means how would you like to celebrate? Yeah. Okay. Shamik, you have to mute yourself, unmute yourself.
Yeah. I'm just putting in a message saying that I'm dropping up. And thank you very much. This was very informative, Sri. Thanks for taking the time. Cheers.
My pleasure.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
My pleasure. Yeah. Oh, you already put a message there. Okay, so let's wrap up by just sharing your learn. What is that you're taking away from this conversation? Just go around, share that, and we can wrap this up maybe in the next 5 minutes.
I'll go first.
Yeah, Simi, you can go first.
I agree what Krishna said today, that it was summary of the 60 hours in one go, and you made it so easy, simplified, and sometimes I feel that breaking head over these competencies was just simplified in this time that I spent today listening. The most important thing that my learning was that trusting the client is very important. If we trust the client and we are willing to just stand there with them, they actually figure out and they go from agreement to awareness to action. And that is my learning. We take too much of stress, and as you were repeatedly saying, don't put it on your shoulders. It's not your burden to carry. Absolutely right. That was my biggest learning. And one more thing is that the way you nailed it from the doing to the being level and from going to basic, advanced, and the master's level, I really loved that. I think this will remain pinned on my study board all the time. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Jaya, you raise your hand. You want to go, and then I'll ask Abhishek, and then we can. Yeah, Jaya.
Sure. So I think the key insight for me was, especially I have had a couple of coaches basically saying, I have to think about this a little more, and I will connect for the next session, and that never happens. So I think this was great for me to understand that, okay, what do you mean you will think about it? Or, when they say they'll reflect, or when they'll say, I want to sit with this, different ways of saying the same thing, but, converting that into something that is an action. I think that this gave me some tools to do that very, very effectively. Thanks, Srikanth.
Okay, Jay.
Sir, I really want to say thank you, Dilse, because you actually simplified this entire competencies, and it was actually a kind of a big deal for me when you simplified this entire competencies, right from say agreement, action, and agreement, action, and awareness. Sorry, and action. It was very simplified. And moreover, I agree with Simi that the way you explained this entire basic, advanced, and the master level of all three journeys put together, it was an eye opener that it's a seamless process, and we need to trust this coaching as a process, as a coach, and rather taking the monkeys on our shoulder and taking all the pressure. We just need to go with the flow, trust the process, and help the coachee to transform rather taking all the load on our head. So quite an eye-opener session. Thank you so much, sir, for being such a selfless and unconditional giver to all of us. Thank you so much. Can't thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Anna, go ahead.
I'm just going to say thank you because you know that I'm a huge fan of you. The one thing I'm taking away is the SMART goals tying in with the SMART actions. I think that's going to stay in my head. It just makes everything so simple. Just tie this with that and you're done.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Yeah, three things I would like to mention. First, trust the process. Of course, trust the client, but along with that, trust the process. It helps you not to deviate from, making any suggestions or like during the session, you can focus your attention on not explaining the client what coaching is. That happens a lot with me. So trusting the process is very important. Second thing, frame questions in a way to enable exploration. That's one of the ways wherein you have that leash. Like if I connect this with the example of the owner, the person
With walking the dog,
like walking the dog. So that's the second point. And both these pointers, they take you to the third thing, which is the coaching proficiency. If you stick to these two things, I think that will help you to better your coaching proficiency. And what, according to me, is the coaching proficiency is to time your questions, or know when to enter that conversation with the right question or the right metaphor or the silence or pauses, whatever you choose to do. Like you won't really have to think a lot if you follow the earlier 2 pointers. Yeah, so that's the
Right.
takeaway for me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I put my takeaway in the chat. Thank you.
You did? Okay, all
Good
right.
night.
Okay.
Srikanth, I've also
I-
put my takeaway in the chat. Thank you so much. I just realized I'm like the fountain from where everything is stemming out. I
Yeah.
got to work on my being. If I trust myself, I trust the process, everything's going to happen. It's just that I am wobbly right now whenever things are going haywire. So
Right.
just a reminder, I got to work on myself.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Who's left now? Shivani has to say, Press to say something, and I think in mind. Yeah. Go ahead, Shraddha. Yeah.
Srikanth, I think I have already seen drawing you these pictures. Maybe not all the things in one go, but at different in different sessions. And I must tell you that every time I see them, I get new insight. So thank you for that, because that also means that I'm learning on a like learning path. What today's takeaway for me was how our own limiting beliefs actually translate into wrong questions. Because what you said that what did you do the last time when it happened to you, and how you turned it around saying what helped you the last time it happened to you. So the way we are framing it, we might have very good intentions, but the way like how the awareness is getting translated into action, I would like to like compare with an analogy, like how our intentions are getting translated into questions. So that is a practical aspect of it, and that was a very good I think takeaway which I'll keep in my mind. And
Right.
thanks for the session today. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Okay.
For me, I think the diagrammatic image of the waterline. So you have actions and behavior on top, and then the iceberg down. And how do you take the client from doing, then being, and then the knowing, and the new knowing, and back to doing? I think that was a beautiful reference point for me. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I'm glad that
go
you
ahead,
asked
Shraddha.
this question. Like you said, it's important to ask this question in a coaching conversation to remind the clients of the awareness that they have gained. So it seems apt in that sense. So I think for me, it was like a quick refresher of the coach training, like all of them have been saying. I think it's like back to basics. You should not forget them. So and build on them. So that was a very insightful things. I love the iceberg because I think I saw 3.1 and 3.2, like the three competencies, four in 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 in a very different light, because in my head right now, 3.1 and 3.2 are above the iceberg, the doing space, and 3 and 4 are below the iceberg. And the importance of those two questions has changed in my head, because I think I would ask them before, but not from this perspective. So that's a new learning for me. Also something like not asking these redundant questions and actually thinking about asking them in a different way. For example, the 3.4 that you said, asking it in a different manner, a positive manner, not asking as to how to celebrate or why is this important. So that's another quick learning for me. Yeah, all the acronyms that you use, like information, implement, impact, smart to smart, and also trusting the process and the client. That was really interesting. And of course, it's a very good reminder to remember that we are here for the client and create their autonomy for them and not for ourselves. So that's, so yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Darling, you raise your hand. Just go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Shri. So
Basically, I want to acknowledge that you did the entire 6 months, 6 to 8 months of coaching, coach training into these 1.5 hours. And it's like brilliant. Hats off to you. I think only you can do it.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I really want to acknowledge that. My key takeaway is one is I'm very impressed with this walking the dog metaphor, you know. Everybody can relate so much to it. I can definitely. So I like that metaphor. And second, something that stuck to me until now is the question. Yeah, I'm sorry. The question that I mean, that's a mistake probably that I make pretty often, that, you know, what happened in the past. And instead of that, I like the way you propose that what was there deep inside you that you did, and
Exactly.
things changed for you. So I can just see the stark difference right away in the
Right,
results. So that's my key takeaway. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Perfect. Alpesh, go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks. I hope my voice is coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I would just like to say thank you very much. As always, your sessions are very useful. And no, you also demonstrated how, like, no, a basic can go and how mastery go by, combining the 60 hours into 90 minutes. I do hope we get 60 hours for this particular session. And everything what you have put in is a very nice way, like, what at least I see from time to time from my perspective. I'm just kind of using a transactional kind of in questions. When I like, if you ask something related to past, but this you just show us how we can convert those same thing into transformational.
Correct.
Like, getting
Exactly.
insight and something. This is very powerful for me. And I was able to download a whiteboard. I'm a fan of visual person. Language sometimes not troubles me, but looking at the board would help me to remind. So I already downloaded and make my place where I would like to store it. So it's wonderful for me and refresher would be. So thank you.
My handwriting will be very difficult to read, but I think you can make sense.
No, I can definitely make out, and that will definitely trouble me to rethink. So that's the way I can do it. But I allow us to claim 60 PDUs for it.
Okay. Krishna is I don't know. Krishna is quiet. Unmute yourself.
No, coach, I am still wondering why are you not taking any fees from us? Because it is a 1.5 hour session. You finished in 45 minutes. We only were blabbering. The 15-minute room, that room. Technically speaking, 45 minutes, you have killed you are going to kill many coaching institutions, I think now. I am really telling, not just because these people are here. I am actually feeling bad. We didn't pay anything. You are not eating air and drinking air, no? This time is very precious. I'm thinking loud, okay? You are giving us so much. I think we will work hard and make it reflect in our sessions.
Sure.
I am not talking a lot because this Saturday you are anyway going to take a cane and hit me. I am going to do the coaching job. That is why I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Okay. All right. Everybody has gone, but I just want to share this with you. People may watch the record. Today I had an exploration call with somebody, right? This person came to my office. We scheduled the call about 2 weeks ago on Zoom. It didn't happen. This person insisted I want to come to office and have this conversation with you. So we had a 1-hour conversation. End of which she said, I want to work with you. Okay. You know my fee, how much I ask? I said, if you want to work with me for 6 sessions of one-on-one and then check-in sessions, whatever, you will have to pay me 2.5 lakhs per 18% GST. If you want a combination of coaching and mentoring, then you are going to pay 3 lakh rupees plus GST. She said, I'll do it. But I didn't want to take it. You know the reason? She's going through heavy trauma. I said, I can't help you right now because you have trauma. And in my coaching sessions, I cannot help you. I'm going to ask you to work with a person to resolve your trauma, and parallelly you work with me. One session, you agree to work with that person. If you agree to work with that person, I will work with you, otherwise I'm not working. So I fixed the appointment for her. Next Tuesday she's going. The moment I get an acknowledgement from the therapist saying that she has signed up with me, that's the time I will onboard her. Otherwise, I will not. But I know she will spend the money, she will not do the work. Yeah. Totally trusted the process. She wanted answers. I said, no, I have no answers. It's your life. So trust the process. Don't succumb to pressure. If you want to be very, very true to the coaching profession, trust the process. But you can do mentoring, advice, whatever, it's okay. There's nobody stopping you from doing what you want. Okay. But keep them separate. Keep your advice and consulting and all of that separate. Keep your coaching separate. Do whatever you want. Okay. All right, Krishna, I'm going to see you tomorrow at the workshop.
Yes, yes. And I
Tomorrow,
want to place on record that the person who met coach, I know her also personally. And I know this meeting is going to happen and we fixed it a couple of times. So sometimes when coach says, we feel it's fiction, but many times I am privy to certain things, what's happening also. Anyway, thank you, coach. We'll catch up tomorrow.
Yeah, so tomorrow, no review call, Krishna. We'll straight meet in,
we'll
no
go
review
there.
call happening. Tomorrow, straight in the workshop.
Yeah.
Chalo. Bye, good night.
Good night,
God
all of
bless you. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Bye, team. Bye-bye.